story goes on. The story really revolved around Netta and Jetta. That's how their names were for short. How their whole lives were blighted by the incestuous relationship they had up till, I think, their teens, was it? Up till their teens, their mid to late teens. And how not only their lives were blighted, and blighted even seems too mild of a word, were destroyed by that relationship. The lives of people who loved them, their parents friends, their own friends. It's the chain went on and on and on. The ramifications of just that relationship between these two people damaged a lot of things. So I have some highlights I wrote down here, and Netta is the female and Jetta was the boy. Netta was severely held back from everything and everyone by guilt, because she felt she took on the responsibility of everything that happened on herself. And books were her escape. Books were her escape, almost turning her into a hermit. I'm sure. You want to say something? Books were her escape. So she had a good friend who was called Esther, and Esther was always trying to draw her out of that, out of her shell. Netta was always reading. However, as good and as close a friend as Esther was to Netta, she didn't know anything about the ugly secrets that Netta had. So that's to tell you how much people do not talk about these kind of things. But there's no denying that these kind of issues, societal ills exist. As much as we don't want to talk about them, that doesn't deny that they are there. And for us to for us to stamp them out or overcome them, they need to be talked about. They do need to be talked about. So talking about being a hermit, I'm sure there's quite a few of us here, besides Netta. So I could describe myself as one, but not to the extremes. I mean, I love my books, but I also love to have a good time. I love to interact, talk to people, make friends, and all that. So to sort out the whole mess that was on ground, which the guy didn't even know about. Then it so happened that the man he collided with was the dad of Netta's love interest or boyfriend. What do we call it now? Coincidentally, he was the dad of Netta's boyfriend, the person she was in a relationship with, which, because of the demons that Netta was going through, trying to, reconcile how much damage the relationship, her sexual relationship, unhealthy sexual relationship with her brother had caused to Peter, was now without a father. Peter's mom was a widow. Her own mom was a widow. She herself was now without a dad. And all these negative feelings weighed down on her, and she just shut herself out from Peter and practically everybody else and left. So there's a lot of people who tragically lost their lives because of, as an indirect effect of their relationship. Her dad, Peter's dad, which is the guy her dad collided with, Tobe's death at the hands of her brother, Jetta. Now, I need to say a little bit about this. When Netta realized that the relationship was no good and it was a taboo, in short, they had to put an end to it. Netta wanted to stop, but Jetta, her brother, was, I concluded he had a mental disorder, because he said there was only one person for him in this world, and that was his sister. He didn't want anybody else, he didn't need anybody else. So I concluded, okay, this is no longer normal. This boy needs medical attention. When that happened, and I told my mom this part of the book, my mom told me that she had read another book where the same thing happened. The same scenario, except that in this one it was the twins' dad that made them perform that incestuous relationship. You may know the book. It's by Mario Puzo. Yes, yes. I don't know the title. I haven't read it. So my question is, I don't even know how to express the question. My question is there something, is it that the man's brain is wired differently, or how are these two coincidences? Why is it that the lady is trying to put a stop to this and the boy says no, and he keeps, and just tell me what you were thinking.
So I think that Netta was, maybe I should use the word smarter than Jetta.
Yeah.
And she was always more mature than he was. I mean, you could remember, somewhere in the book when the man would always say, Jetta was the man, Jetta was the boy, but the man would always say, oh, Netta, take care of your brother.
Yeah.
Because, she already knew that. And for Jetta's case, he was even made worse because he was put away for so long. Netta moved on with her life and she had other things she was doing, went through school, and she already saw that there was more to life, and whatever happens to us in life has somehow there are consequences to some of the things that we do in life. And Jetta resurfaces, and he didn't know of anything else. Even when he was away, it was just the thought of his sister that kept him going.
He was obsessed.
Yeah, he was obsessed. And these things don't have to make sense to us, how people receive things and how people act. But Jetta was always like that. He wasn't a deep thinker, so he was just interested in that premature gratification that he was getting from that incestuous relationship with the sister, and it was now made worse by him going away and not living for anything. So that was why when he got out, it was just the sister was the only thing that he wanted. And then it was just unfortunate that things didn't turn out well.
So can I ask, a feminine culture, then you will be dancing around the main issue without saying this is what it is.
True. And it also points to how when you dance around issues, how they can be misunderstood, or how they won't even be picked,
and how they can deteriorate without you noticing.
Yes. So you have parents, even parents that feel that need to talk to their children, whether boys or the girls, about sex and what you should do and shouldn't do and how careful you should be. When they feel that need to say it, they don't come out to say don't do this. They just speak in parables. The only thing my mom ever told me was avoid commitment. It was later when I grew older that I traveled back, in time, and I understood what she was trying to say then. That avoid commitment was everything wrapped into it. Say these things the way they are, so when they come, or when somebody is trying to, bring these things, that your children know. Nobody ever had that kind of conversation with Netta or Jetta.
So like you said, the line between, in the relationship between siblings is blurry. There is no black or white, but we need, or as adults, not necessarily as parents alone, as adults, we've got to be extra careful and observant, because some of those warning signs might be happening right under your very nose and you might just be missing them. So I think that's something we can take away from there. Then do you think that if Netta's mom, if their mom was not so dramatic about the phone call to their dad, he may still have been alive? She was hysterical, let's put it that way. She was hysterical on the phone. Come back home now. Not necessarily in this voice. I think she was screaming, she was crying even. Or else you meet 3 dead bodies. If she had been, I think if she was more level-headed, more, more calm about it. But how can you be calm walking into your kids? I try to understand that, but I think if she didn't make that call that frantically, the guy may not have passed. this is what I think. Or anybody who has read the book here, do you want to say something? Anybody who's read the book? Okay, no problem, let's continue.
Considering what she said before about asking the question about how do you know who to trust and about bringing people into your home, I just wanted to say that it actually depends on your luck. Because my mom during the COVID-19 period used to go to work and come back, and then she comes and asks us, oh, how was today? Did you this thing? And she doesn't like us watching TV for a long period of time, and we'll watch TV throughout the whole day. And she'll come and be like, she'll try and engage us into friendly conversation. What did you do? Tell her, oh, we studied. We'll bring work that we studied the day before and show her, oh, we studied and everything. We did very well and everything. But we've been what? So I think it just depends on your luck. Because even the people you trust very well, like anybody that you can bring to your house, you can be like, oh, the person will be good for 2 years and something will just happen. It just depends on your luck to me. But anything can happen.
Ella, I completely and utterly agree with you. There's somebody. Rosemary, any mic for him?
Yes.
Okay. Meanwhile, please, let me pass this one to you.
Just pass it backwards. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, let me just climb on what she just said. Actually, yes, it depends on your luck. But being a parent or parents, it comes with so much responsibility. It's just beyond having kids. Just beyond. Let me give birth to a boy and a girl, and then hand them over to someone else to look after for me while I go make money. It's about being responsible here, and it's not solely the job of the woman. I love the fact that their father was actually noticing something,
Yes.
but it was just the mom that wasn't picking it because she was too trusting. Just like Eva said, do not be too trusting. So I think one of the best solutions is that parents should learn to create a bond. Like I mentioned yesterday, with their kids, starting from a very little age. Kids are very sensitive. It's just like putting so much courage in a child, even from 2 years old, and you see them so bold, and nobody can influence them otherwise because they have a friend in their parents. The girl child is so close to the father, they can say anything. They're not afraid to express themselves because you put something inside of them and you spend time to grow that thing that you put inside of them. That's why I love the European system of training their kids. They are very wise, open, like they can say anything and share anything. For us, you see, we believe that the religious circle will use that avenue to clone our kids, to keep them closer to God while we go off working and we leave our jobs for teachers and then Sunday school teachers and all that. So when we are too trusting like that, we lose them. But when we create time to understand that this responsibility is beyond just feeding and clothing them, it's about bringing up a child in the way he should grow. And when that child is old, he will never depart from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I just wanted to say something. It's interesting what you have said, and I think what that bond would do for you would be just like Ella said. If you have Ella, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If you happen to be unlucky or luckless in whoever you bring in to help you with taking care of your children, if there is that bond, the probability of you finding out and nipping things in the bud increases. But when that bond is not there and something goes wrong, you don't even find it, you miss it, and then something that happened for just 1 day or 2 days is, trust me, way better than something that just stretches and happens for years, like the case of Jetta and Netta.
Thank you very much for your contributions. Now I would like us to talk about, okay, just one more, then we'll proceed. Okay.
I want to talk about the way she passed the message to her husband. I think the husband, as much as I'm not blaming the husband for the way he took the message, but they've been married, that wasn't like their first year, their second year and all that. So I think he should have understood that the wife is dramatic. So maybe if he did not actually take the message that way, he would have survived.
Well, to that, I would put myself in the man's shoes. If my wife called me in that kind of voice, crying, and with that kind of message, I think I would leave whatever I'm doing and blast home. I think so. I think I would have acted just like him.
I think that was the first time he was, hearing, experiencing that sort of behavior from his wife. Even if she was, dramatic, she was also not one to just cry or shout or, call him that frantically. So he just said it, and then the threat she made about if you're not home, you're going to find 3 dead bodies. And if it wasn't communicated to him that way, I'd like to think that he wouldn't have been involved in that accident because he was speeding and then he ran a red light and that happened.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about Netta, the lady, the twin. Netta's life was wrapped by guilt completely and utterly. Her existence was guilt personified. What made her feel this guilty? She had an unhealthy sexual relationship with her sibling, which was occasioned by their caretaker when they were young. And this led to a series of unwanted consequences, such as her dad's tragic death, the death of Peter's father, which was her boyfriend, in the same accident as her dad. Tobe's death. Tobe was also her boyfriend. Tobe's death at the hands of her brother, Jetta, in the school fight, in secondary school. Netta, I'll give a little background for those who haven't read the book. Netta was trying to cut off the relationship with her brother, and she deliberately went to start dating a boy. Say, see, I have a boyfriend, I can't sleep with you, my brother, anymore. This is my boyfriend. Although she didn't really like the boy, but she just wanted to break that bond, unhealthy bond with her brother. And then the brother got into a fight with him and killed that boy. Tobe's death at the hands of her brother in the school fight. Then Jetta got imprisoned for killing that young man in school. 10 years imprisonment. Thank you. Peter, which was her boyfriend, also got shot in the chest because of a squabble with Derek over Netta. Derek committed suicide. He shot himself and he died. Her mom becoming a widow. So can you just, and you must be tired of hearing this catalog of negative events by now, all as a result of this relationship. Now, understandably also, this is why Netta was feeling guilty. This is why her existence was defined by guilt. But then again, can we come out wholeheartedly to say that Netta was the cause of all this catalog of negativity? I know some persons would say, yes, ultimately their relationship was the root cause. But then some people would also say, I'm only responsible for my actions. I'm not responsible for how people respond to the way I behave or to the way other people behave. So, let's talk about this. Does anybody have anything to say about this particular point now? Anybody? Ever? Okay. Ella.
Okay, so I think, things are not so bad. You're just human beings, but I think God sees everything as one sin. So I think if I were Netta and all those things happen to me, first of all, I'm the kind of person that won't put all the blame on me. I always blame it on someone else. And the situation gave me a very good person to blame it on, and that was that girl. So every bad thing that will happen to me, and everybody that will ask me, oh, why all this is that girl, I'll blame it on her, and I'll just be like, shift the blame from myself. And I think you can't really blame her, because she was a teenager and she was young, and just like, okay, someone comes into my house and I already think my parents' decision is good, so someone comes into my house to take care of me and is introducing me, and sexual pleasure now, like, I don't know how to say this now, but like, when people are into it, they feel happy, there's joy. So at that moment when she was doing it, there was joy, but after everything, she comes to think about it, like, or did I actually do this and everything? But at that moment, she didn't really feel the guilt. So when she saw everything happening to her, she tried. Netta tried to cut off herself. She tried to cut off her brother, but she couldn't stop all those bad things that were happening to people to happen. It's not like she carried, she killed those people and everything. It was just circumstance and the way things were. Because
No, finish up.
Thank you.
I wish you still have something
Thank
to
you.
say.
Thank you.
Okay. Eva, I'm sorry. Let me apologize first. But it's not as if I want to fault you here. Ma'am, you mentioned something earlier. You said Netta found a means of escape from all this, which was reading.
Books.
She took up books.
Books and writing as well.
So, do you agree with me that when someone is well read, someone that reads a lot, you see, their thinking differs from every other person that doesn't actually read?
Agree.
Thank you. So tell me, Eva, how did she not escape the guilt if she's well read? Come on, man. She must have come across a whole lot. She must have read a lot. She must have seen people act up and she'll be like, I already know what they're thinking or what their next move will be because she's well read. So I expected her to escape this guilt instead of even going to a therapist because she's well read. So how do you answer? I just hope you escape it too. Thank you.
Eva, can I talk before you?
Okay.
Okay, so I was going to say, Eva hasn't escaped your question. So what's your name, please? Chiji. Okay, Eva hasn't escaped your question. He will answer you. He must answer you. So, for me, I would say it has a lot to do with personality. And you will also agree with me that many readers are deep thinkers. They are very deep thinkers. They reason issues from left, right, center, up, down, in, out, high, low. They are deep thinkers. And when you read and your mind is broad, you start to think, what could have been if, what if I acted this way? What if I didn't? What if the other person, how did I react? What could I have done different? What did I do that I shouldn't have done? I think it has a lot to do with personality because, like you said, or like she said, somebody else could have reacted differently. That experience, that unhealthy relationship could have made another young Netta rebellious or loud or, acting all brash just to cover up what she's suffering inside. But Netta was the opposite. Netta was suffering in silence. Okay.
What Helen said was what I was going to say from 1 to 100. You said it yourself. She found solace in books. She was a reader, and most readers are thinkers. They're not just deep thinkers. They are, the depth of the thinking now means that they will overthink things, right? And her personality, she was also melancholic by nature.
She was.
Yeah, and so when you're like that, you see the world differently, right? You overthink things. And I've heard someone say before that the more the mind understands itself, the more it wants to destroy itself. Do you get? So, someone else might maybe do what Ella suggested, which was to now analyze it and say, no, this is not my fault. This is Auntie Chidinma's fault because she started this. But Netta started from where, Auntie Chidinma started this, but it was my fault. I didn't stop it. I found out I should have stopped it instead of joining them. So her mind and the kind of person she was didn't allow her to say to herself, no, I was only a child then when this thing happened. She took that blame upon herself and she lived with it. She wasn't even blaming Auntie Chidinma for anything until she started therapy. If she had started therapy earlier in her life, it would have helped her. But when the part of the world where those things are even, you cannot mention those things. But when she started seeing Dr. D analyzed this situation the way Ella analyzed it, which is to say, this wasn't your fault. Blame Auntie Chidinma, she caused these things. You're being too hard on yourself. That did not happen, and then it just I said it's just unfortunate what happened to Netta. But then I think it was her personality and the fact that she was a reader and she was an overthinker that made her put all those things on herself.
Treated me. When Netta came out of serving his 10-year sentence for killing Tobe in school and came straight to, he went to Auntie Chidima's place, which was their caretaker when they were young, and Auntie Chidima gave him, oh, Netta stays at Susu place. You can go and meet her there. And he went to his sister and practically became a leech, a nuisance in the life of this young lady. He wouldn't work. He came out of jail. Not only did he come out, he came out with two friends, 2 drug addicts, 2 riff-raffs, 2 people that you probably would not want to breathe in the same air as them, in the same space. And the 3 of them were living with Netta. There was nothing Netta did to get rid of these people that worked. I found myself thinking, if she couldn't kick her brother out because blood is thicker than water, and you may think twice, no matter what your loved one did to you about, pushing them into the streets, why did she not leave? Why didn't she leave the house if the source of her grief was there, giving her more and more grief every day? Why didn't she leave? Why did she wait until, let me tell them what he did, until he raped her, Jetta raped his sister, and these 2 other hooligans after him, one after the other. And in fact, the book ended in such a depraved manner and left me hanging. So why did it have to get to that? Tell us, Eva, what were you thinking writing that kind of thing?
So she tried to make them leave, but they wouldn't leave. And she was trying to get money, right, to leave the apartment for them. She was trying to get money. And she could have just left to go to Esther's place.
That's what I expected her to. That's what I would do.
But you remember, Netta is an overthinker, right? She also thought to herself, oh, if I go to, it was mentioned some part in the book, if I go to Esther's place, Esther,
I'll have to tell Esther everything.
Going on. Yeah, and Esther is judgmental. She's going to say this. So she was just comfortable having.
Which, in actual fact, Esther may not have judged her. This was her overthinking. This was Esther in her mind. But there are people we preempt before we even go to them, and their reaction to what we have to say may not be what we've been thinking all along. So I think she may have misjudged Esther.
Very true, very true. And she didn't have another friend. What she now said to herself was, oh, my book has been shortlisted for this prize, and I'm going to wait. Hopefully, because she had Danny Moore always encourage her, oh, your book is going to win. So part of her was expecting, oh, it's going to be announced in 2 weeks' time. Or I'm going to win this prize, and I'm going to use the prize money. I'm going to use the prize money to get another apartment and move it for them. And it didn't get to the 2 weeks, and everything just fell apart. So she was thinking of leaving.
Well, I was terribly disappointed that she didn't leave the house before those animals had the chance to defile her in the way.
Esther kept saying it. Esther came over and then she stopped coming to the house. I'm in the same space with these people.
Yeah. So
you're still feeding them.
And then she stopped feeding them.
I know.
She stopped feeding them, and oh God. So now another question, please. How does one? This is not to Eva, or this is to Eva and to the rest of us here. How does one bring somebody like Auntie Chidima to book? For damaging the lives of those kids, for damaging so many lives, how would those people be brought to, how can they answer for what they have done? Because ironically, this lady, who was this children's caretaker, grew up, got married, had her own kids, and now became overprotective of her own kids, wanting them to be so close and so guided and nothing bad should happen, forgetting how much damage she brought to other people's kids. So how can these people be made to answer for what they have done?
So, a very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chen Doifogo, and apologies, I was privileged to see the manuscript before the book was published, so
he wrote a blog for me. He wrote a blog for me, and he had to read it under one day. He said, "No, it's going to press tomorrow. You need to get the blog out." Thank you for that. I haven't said that.
So thank you so very much, Eva. And yes, so I read the entire manuscript, the entire content, but I think I read it professionally, and I can't remember all the story anymore because since then I've seen 20 or 25 other manuscripts by then. So, but then one thing is very, very intriguing here, and that goes to say that the world that we live in, basically, people do not win. So when we want to ask ethical questions like how do we hold people to account, it might not be the best yardstick to measure humans, because the life we live, actually, even when you think you've won, nobody actually wins this war. That's just the reality about it. So whether she's protective based on the overprotective in this regard now because of some of the things that she may have done in the past to other people's children, and then maybe retrogressively in her mind she feels that the best way is to guide her own ex. The reality is that even in that wall that you are building, you're trying to imprison yourself. So the truth about it is there is no way. I do not think that there is a way you can ever hold people like that to bed on this things.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have some persons at the back. Rosemary, any?
No, it's just on the mic is on.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Grace. You asked a question. You asked how can Chidima be brought to book? Be held to account. Be held to account, yes. So yes, there are laws against sexual offences, against abuse in our country, in every society, in fact, any civilized society. But the reason why such people will not be easily brought to book is because of how we approach sex in our society. The Nigerian colloquial setting, sex is usually in a hush-hush tone. Sexual act is muted. We're not in our homes, in our family. We're not confident in expressing our sexual desires or sexual life, so to speak. And so in that type of atmosphere, you see people getting away with sexual offenses. You see people not taking responsibility for the sexual abuses that they have committed. In this particular case, for instance, Chidima was a house help, and then she sexually abused those underage people. I mean, that's pedophilic behavior, right? And then growing up, those children did not have the avenue to report to anyone. There was no way they could talk about their experience.
Because she was an adult, and their mom always used to say, listen to Auntie Chidima, do what Auntie Chidima tells you.
Exactly. So we live in a society where there is, should I say, pseudo oppression when it comes to being a sexual human being. We're human being. To be a full human being, you have to be sexual, whether you like it or not. So why should we why should we resist that part of ourselves? If a young girl should talk about liking a boy, she's dead in her house because that's the end. I mean, how dare you like a boy? The society we live in does not give that. There's no freedom. So I believe that's why somebody like Chidima was never brought to book, because she got away with it. That's it.
Thank you very much for your contribution. To that, I have something to say. Excuse me, sir. It's a thing of to do with culture, like you said. But then again, if we check it, even in the Western world, where they have a kind of culture that encourages you to be expressive and encourages kids to speak up, there are still incidences of abuse.
Yeah.
Even in a culture where sex is openly spoken about between folks and their kids. these things still happen. So yes, culture is a factor, but it's not. There are other factors as well. Okay, sir.
All right. Chidinma, as the word say, I'm a peddler. Chidinma said to be a house help. She's helping somebody. So I don't think in the society where the law should I have a conscience to sue Chidinma for what she have done because I've not played my part as a parent. So as a parent, you should know that Chidinma is a house help. It's helping you. You should do the order of the day at the end of the day and make sure that things are put into perspective. Now, Chidinma, they say experience is the best teacher. Chidinma had an experience and she now had her own kids. She had to build a solid wall for her kids so that they will not come into that same shoe she had. So let Chidinma's conscience be the only judge that can beat her, despite the fact that she has done something wrong. But Chidinma must look for a way to build her own. I'm sure that her own never had the same experience she has taught someone as a child. Then, at this point, we should hold our parents responsible.
I was going to say that, I mean, Grace made a very valid point, which is when you restrict, you should talk more about these things, and when you talk more about these things, you have the chances of picking things you're supposed to, pick. We're in a culture where that doesn't happen. But what I was going to say is parenting. I think it's parenting before culture. We feel our children, and there's no how you want to analyze this book that you would still not go back to that conclusion that it was the parenting that broke them first. And the bad thing about this in this case was that they were bad parents and didn't know they were bad parents. I mean, when you read the book, you would, I think chapter 10 of the book, you would, see where Edna was looking at other women maltreating their house helps, and then she was judging them. Oh, these are all bad women. I'm better than these people. I'm a good mother. I'm good to Chidinma. The most dangerous part of being bad at something is being bad at it and then being ignorant about that. I think that was the case of parents of those twins. And sorry, I've had people call me or send me messages to say, oh, look at how you're even writing about the book. It was like you were even finding justification for Chidinma, what she did. And I've told them, as a writer, you learn not to judge your characters. Yeah, so people said, oh, you see how you're writing the book like you were trying to understand why she did, explaining why she did what she did. But we're all humans. We're all humans, and Chidinma was no different.
And we shouldn't be quick to judge somebody else because you never know how you would react in those in that same situation.
First I told her, I didn't ask her, hi, what's your name? I said, something happened to you. She laughed. She looked at me and said, what are you saying? I said, somebody has done something to you. My spirit is telling me that someone has done something to you. She said, go on now. What do you know? I said, tell me, you're the one that knows what happened to you. Tell me. She then said, I don't like sharing this experience, but I don't know why I just want to tell you. I said, open up. She said, when she was at the age of 3, 4, that the cousin brother, if I should use that word, was molesting her. She was staying with her uncle, so the boy was molesting her, and she didn't know. She felt cool. This thing was enjoyable. Like, I'm enjoying this stuff until she got to 12, the age of 12, when they started teaching them about dignity as a woman. So she now discovered that I have lost that dignity I have as a woman. So she started crying and she went to meet him and said, so this is what you've been doing to me. The guy was like, didn't you enjoy it? He was not even remorse about it. Didn't you enjoy it? Stuff like that. So she was not opening up to him. That's why she hated every man. You cannot approach her. She just sees every man like that. It's something that has destroyed her mindset towards guys. So, and I told her, what do you want to do? That was the question I asked her. She said, at this age of mine, I want to go and tell my mom. I said, you will destroy your family. That's not the best thing to do now. You understand? You have to sit up. It has happened, it has happened. You understand? I also have another identical situation like that. What happened to that guy? I told her, you need to see someone. Go see the pastor and discuss with him. Okay, she discussed with the pastor and I told her, okay, follow me to choir practice every day so that you can get off that thing. So she started singing, she started like trusting guys. Look, I'm telling you practical things. So I don't know what might work for you, but that was what I saw working for her. And she started, socializing. Before you know, she called the other brother. The other brother called me and said, what did you do to this young girl? I said, nothing, she just enjoyed music. That's all. And today she's married with a kid. There's another girl at 6. She noticed that the driver that always takes her to school, before the driver takes her to school, the driver takes her to the bush. And this is life story. And sleeps with her. Threatens that if you tell your dad, I'll kill you. I know where I'm going to. He got to a certain age, she opened up to her dad and the guy was arrested. What am I saying in essence is that there's another girl too, a small girl of 3 years. I called her my love. Do you know what happened? She went and told the mom, this man is calling me my love at the age of 3. And the mom called me and said, don't ever do that. Don't ever call my child my love again. Children are very sensitive. I said, this small girl, she went to report and said, yes, that's how I've trained her. You understand? So I'm saying this as prospective parents that
Please give that gentleman. Sir, please, can you make it brief?
I want to talk about. Sorry, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
My name is Tochi. Thank you. Okay, from the book, you can remember that before Chidinma started this act with Jetta and Netta, there was a young man Chidinma was into. Remember the kiss at the staircase?
Matthew.
Remember they were supposed to book themselves for sex.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So with this disappointment,
he left abruptly.
and I want to blame those parents first for taking what's the name of that guy? Matthew, right?
Matthew.
Okay. Matthew left and Chidinma became stranded. I came here with the anger of Chidinma and Chijoke. We are coming to kill them here because of Chidinma. I got so pained with that action. But this is...
Wait. With which action?
Chidinma's action.
Okay. I thought you meant with Matthew's action for
No. So, Chidinma took out her frustration on those kids.
Yes, but still inexcusable.
No, it's not justifiable. Everything she did was wrong. But when we talk of sex is not being taught. Sex is not taught. Like, you can just grow into it, and the first time you do it, you want to keep doing it, except you get someone to talk you out of it or control you as regards to it. So, in the case of Netta, when she started going for the therapy, I think the best thing she was supposed to have done then was to approach Chidinma and tell her, because there's no way you can get Chidinma to pay for it. You just noticed it. The father noticed it, but at the end of the day, Twitter did not take action or did not investigate.
He mentioned it, the mom attacked him.
The mom said they are twins. Why do you want to separate them?
But in this life, after catching criminals or this, people have seen certain things we don't observe. These days we focus on computer, phones, games, everything. We don't observe and we don't listen. Human beings don't listen. They want to talk, but you don't want to listen to another person. So my 2-year-old daughter met me one day and said that the teacher beat her. I said, what? My wife said should leave her. The children are always talking. I said, no. I went to the teacher and brought my daughter. My daughter said, you beat her. Why did I do that? I know the woman will deny.
don't want her to do it again.
I don't want her to do it again. Seeing me angry as big as I am, looking at so even if she did it or she not do it, let her not do it again or even imagine it. So people, we have to listen, we have to be observant.
So this is in response to what CJ said. CJ, I'm not coming back to you again. Now, in every human, there is this atom of abnormality. It's normal. So it got to the point where we started asking questions like, if we're all normal, why laws? Basically, laws exist in every organized society, but there is still crime. So it doesn't change anything. I've seen people who derive pleasure and joy and excitement in pain. I've seen people, so there are all kinds of humans. So even for the fact that you feel something, okay, there is a reason that some call it prison, some also call it correctional institutions. People still go there and they get worse. Some of those ideas, some of those, they get a lot more sophisticated. They come back and they do a double of all those.
Yeah.
So when we want to talk about holding people to account, it still goes back to it. I am Igbo, I'm from Anambra, by the way. In my place, we say, Anage Mary, who will marry. You do not win this world, no matter what you do. The best that you can do as a human being is to do the best within you. As in, to the extent that you look at yourself, you say, yes, I've done this to the best of my ability.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. I think Dominic can.
Thank you.
No, I just want to commend Eva for his very creative twist. Because it would have been so easy to let Kama play its role, which is the logical thing most of us expect. But by you putting that twist, it's getting us to think deeper and benefit more from this book. So I really want to commend you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so in a book that has so many downhill slope negatives, is there any positives at all? Can we pick out some positives?
Dominic and then.
Okay. Does somebody wants to say something? Okay.
Yeah. Now, the one thing about crisis and sorrow and all that is you are either damaged or broken by it, or you can decide to rebuild yourself and come out stronger. And it's the overcoming that sets you up as a model for other people, as a source of strength.
Yes.
And we actually do have several people who have become very, very successful, and they come out and they say, you know, in spite of what I was through, I went through this, but in spite of that, I still went on to achieve my dreams. So I think another narrative that can be created from this sort of experience, which, like he said, you can't really change it. Those people are out there, is how to overcome. And if we have more people who can stand as emblems of victory, then it gives hope to those who are fresh victims. It's always easier to have someone to look up to and to know that someone else made it, I too can make it. So that's another narrative that we can create, not just from those who speak, but we can even begin to speak about the overcoming ourselves. You know, I think that's the only victory we can have as individuals. We may not win the world, but we can win the experience and come out the better for it. Yes.
Thank you very much, Daimon. Thank you. Anybody else wants to give us some positives? Positives now, enough of talking about the positives.
Alright, good afternoon everybody. My name is Oscar Ezaso. Alright, I want to quickly thank Mr. Eva Obi for putting in these good works. When I was discussing with him one last time, I told him I'm going to archive the book. Maybe with that you remember. Yes, I grew up meeting some books my father left, even when he hasn't met my mom. So I think I'm going to keep this piece for my children unborn also. Wow. So thank you so much. About Nita. First of all, when I started reading the book, with the caption, with the name, Some Angels Don't See God, I was thinking it has to do with heaven and religion and all, but reading the book through, until you finish the last page, I think that's when you start realizing why this book was captioned, "Some angels don't see God."
But come to think of it, I think this angel will see God. I think she would.
No, she killed people. I think she did. Yeah. Murder is murder, no matter if you were justified.
She didn't directly kill people.
She poisoned people.
Did they die? Do you know that they died? You don't know whether they were ill and they were taken to hospital. Do you know?
She locked them up actually, you know? After poisoning them, she locked them up and left.
You don't know that they died. They may have left through the window. They may have survived.
Okay. Let's just say that they may have survived, but at least it was a sin on its own. Poisoning someone is already a guilt. So it's already an attempt to murder. Meanwhile, it means that every other person we see out there, no matter how beautiful they appear, they may have been going through things. Now, Neta is so beautiful. In fact, for her sake, some people died. At least it was for her sake that the brother killed the schoolmate.
Okay, Derek.
Yeah, it was also for her sake that the other guy nearly escaped death. The person that was Peter. So, as beautiful as she appears, she still has demons that she's fighting on a daily. So it means that the next person sitting next to you, no matter how rich they appear, no matter how decent, no matter how soft-spoken, people are going through a lot. So after reading this book, it will encourage you to treat every other person at least. Don't judge them directly. They are passing through a whole lot. That's one thing I was able to learn. Then secondly, in as much as she's fighting this demon, she's still an outstanding writer. Yeah, she's an outstanding writer because she collected her experiences and put it into work. So it means that no matter what it is that you're fighting to, you can actually make something positive from that. Thank you once more, Mr. Eva. I appreciate this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, okay.
Good afternoon, Eva. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Samuel, Okano Samuel. Now, the positives. I think that of Peter being able to go through school after the loss of the father, I think I could relate that personally. My best friend, Vincent, the dad used to work in NAFCON, died all of a sudden and everything. But Vincent is a graduate today, he's doing well. I think that's a positive from this book. Now, the awareness this is creating. I'm a father. I have 2 girls, especially 2 girls. Now, I was speaking with Epele the other day how I'm somehow more harder on my boy than them, you get. Now, this awareness for us to watch over our kids, it is a positive. Then finally, Eva, just to ask, how do you come up with your title? You get a title first, then you create a character, or you just write, then you title it. My question. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There's no hard and fast rule to that. So it just, sometimes the title comes at the beginning of the book, sometimes you just start writing and then the title comes. I had started writing this book without a title, and eventually I had to get a title for it. And you know, sometimes I focus on themes, you know, get title from the themes in the book. And when you read this book, you would see that the number 1 theme, the biggest theme in the book is the theme of imperfection. So there is incest, there is a lot of things, but that imperfection is like the big theme. So I needed to get a title that would represent imperfection. Now, you said it yourself, things are supposed to be this way. Or, sorry, I've forgotten his name, he made mention of Oscar. Things are supposed to be this way, you're looking at this person is supposed to be this way. And that is not really the case. Ordinarily, from our own understanding, angels are, you know, people who are supposed to be in, you know, that close relationship with God. So you're not saying some angels don't see God. You know, these titles, they just come. I have the title for my next book, so there's no hard and fast rule. I don't know. Our imaginations can be boundless sometimes.
So I also have some positives, and they were part of the story. So the first one is Neta's mom finding love again and leaving the country to be with her new husband in the US. And with that, the relationship between herself and her daughter was redeemed. And they were in good terms, even after all that had happened, after the loss of her husband, their dad. She was able to pick up the pieces little by little and still develop a relationship with her kids. Although her relationship with Jetta, her son, was broken down, which was understandable because I still maintain that that boy had a mental disorder. I can't really explain his irrational actions, but at least she was able to restore the relationship with her daughter and open up herself to find love again. So that's one. Then two, I love the lady that always used to, ask her questions when she holds all those meets, those book readings. Arise, the aspiring writer. I love the lady. So she was in awe. She was practically in awe of Neta, and she kept insisting that Neta's stories were about her. And Neta was making her audience believe that, no, this is just fiction, it's nothing to do with me, whereas in actual fact, the stories were about her. Then I wrote something, I said, story of many authors today, perhaps.
You saw a therapist in 2019, right?
Well, we don't know what for. Oh gosh, so that's that. Then another one is Danny Moore, her writer friend, which was the guy. I think he worked in publishing or he was a writer also himself, but he was a big support for her. He kept giving her updates, how far the book, how far the award, is she on the list, even though she didn't win at the end, but that support was there. He was always there for her. So that was a big positive for me. Then Esther remained her good friend all through. Esther was the one who, against her friends, she didn't even need Neta's permission to go and register her with to see the therapist. She did that. These are how far friends can go for one another. Even though as close as they were to tell you how sensitive the topics we're talking about today are, Neta still hid a lot of things from Esther, although they were good friends. So then Neta was writing a second book. In the midst of all the hula baloo that we could call her life, she was able to put her thoughts together and write a second book. I thought that was remarkable. I thought that was good. And I wrote something. I said she'll be all right. Maybe she should buy another parrot or a dog this time. So these were the positives I could come up with. I think to me the book left me hanging. I didn't know whether those three guys, as much as I wanted, I didn't want her to, I don't like the rat poison business because I don't think that solves the problem. The problem is still there. You give them rat poison, okay, there are still such instances out there. There are still rapists roaming the streets. So that doesn't solve the problem, and that doesn't even give her closure too, because she will go and now she now has something extra to think about. She has just killed 3 people if they die. So to me, that didn't solve the problem. And then her going to Peter's house. Peter, for goodness sakes, he had moved on with his sweetheart from America. So she would have got there and probably been even more heartbroken when Peter told her, see, babe, I've moved on. So, but I don't know, does anybody want to talk about how it ended? To me, I was left hanging. To me, the story left me in limbo. Eva, what do you want us to think? Or what did you want your reader to think? Or make of it what you will? Is that?
Yeah, make of it what you will. Make of it what you will. I mean, people have gotten across to me and they've expressed indignation. They've said, "Oh, you didn't do this. It didn't end well. We need a sequel." And someone attacked me on was it Facebook? And then one of my writer friends now came in and then he said something I loved, I don't know if I could get it on my phone and read it out. So maybe that's what I'll be saying to people. Just a second. Just a second. I'll get it. Maybe that's what I'll be saying to people when they ask me this.
Okay.
Okay, I have it. Okay, I have this.
Good job. Just drop comments, but no, I can't. I don't know why.
Can't find it again. Sorry. Sorry. I'll give you it. And writers want you to want more.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes writers want you to want more, and then that's what he was just saying. So me, I wasn't thinking of wanting anybody to want more. I just wrote the story the way it came to me, and I apologize if anybody is angry by it.
Then for me, I would like us to also leave leave the story on a sort of positive note, or in terms of a solution. If there are any netters among us today, maybe not among us seated here, or even among us seated here or out there, any netters, what would be the advice? Where should they start from? For me, rather than live your life racked by guilt like Netta did, I think it all begins with you forgiving yourself first.
Yeah.
For you've got to forgive yourself and don't take responsibility for what happened. I think that's where the process of healing should begin. Yeah. So when you forgive yourself, then from there, ways to start opening up on what to do next, what else to do, to move forward.
Don't worry, just continue. They'll handle it.
So, anybody has any advice for any netters today besides going to see a therapist? Okay, go and see it. No, and besides going to see the pastor, please. Don't say pastor. Pastor is not a therapist.
So many things about her that we're just saying, and then when it comes, it colors how you think about things, it colors how you relate about things, and it colors how you choose yourself. In this story, she never chose herself. When you choose yourself, you don't think about what people will say about you. You will talk about, like, she had a very close friend. She could have said, I'm choosing myself. This thing is eating me up. I'm going to tell her about it. I don't care what she feels. I keep telling people, like, even though I'm a psychiatrist, oh my goodness, I always choose myself. There was one time I had issues, and I was in a bus with women. We're going on a long journey somewhere. Some people even had to wear earplugs. Because the person by me, I didn't really know her that much. But I had so much to talk about. Like, I was really angry. I was really worried about something. I hadn't slept like in 2 days. And I needed, an outlet for it. And all I did was like, can you imagine what happened to me? My doctor told me this, and this happened. By the time I finished, I now slept off in the bus. So it was left for them to keep having their own conversations like this woman. But the thing about it was that I chose myself. At that point in time, I needed that kind of help. And I sought that kind of help. So someone that is out there, you must choose yourself. And then, I know it's really hard, but gratitude list really helps you if you can't see a professional. Every day you sit down and you write about, Oprah Winfrey says 5 things, but you could actually do 3 things that you're grateful for. By the time you start doing it, you start minimizing all the things, and it makes it easier for you to move out there. And then trust. No matter how much we think that the world is filled with evil people, there is always someone that we can trust. And so, as long as you put yourself out there, you will always find that someone that you can trust. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. If I want to say a few words.
Yeah, a few words. So I've been overwhelmed since this book was released. And within 2 months, we're out of copies. Parish that they are back to press, trying to print more copies. Bookville, the copies they had, they finished it, and then they were calling me. I had to buy some copies off Amazon to send to Bookville. We're out of everything. We're back press. And the one thing, there's no day that I don't get people that I don't know, get across to me, maybe send me DMs, and they talk about the book. And the one thing I've noticed is that there's something, people see themselves in the book. The book evokes memories from the past. So this means that I was essentially writing about what most of us went through. And they feel that connection with the book. And we've been trying to do a lot of different things for the book. There's a song that I did with Nomi Mark, and it hasn't been released. It's going to be released ending of this month. And we have a small video which they want to play for us to. This is the first time ever people are seeing the video.
I had that feeling too, so but I don't know if it warrants a sequel or if another book will be coming unrelated, but I had a feeling that the story, there's something more coming. So yes, like no, not a prequel.
Midquel. Maybe a midquel.
So I had that feeling too. So anyway, but something else is coming soon, whether a sequel or. Okay, excellent. So with that, we gradually come to the end of our book review and meet today with Eva Obi. I would like to thank every one of us sincerely for coming around, for making the discussion lively, for being so engaging, for airing for being so expressive as well. I want to say a very big thank you on behalf of Bookville World, the author, and every one of us. Thank you very, very much, and happy reading. Happy readings. Cheers.
Wow.
Yes. So if you have your copies here, yes, the author is ready to sign them. Thank you.